Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something that honestly feels like it's straight out of the future, but maybe it's closer than we think. Okay, so picture this. Imagine a world where you want to send money, right? But you don't reach for your phone, you don't type a password, you don't even use your fingerprint.
Is that thing physical at all?
Exactly. Instead, the transaction just happens because you thought about it, like a mental click, and boom, your Bitcoin moves. What if your thoughts were literally the key?
It really does sound like science fiction, doesn't it? I mean, that kind of direct mind-to-finance link. Well, until pretty recently, it was purely speculative.
Purely imagination.
Right. But, based on the sources you've gathered, this isn't just some far-off dream anymore. It's becoming surprisingly real very quickly, something we genuinely need to start thinking about.
And that's exactly what we're going to do in this deep dive. The mission is pretty clear. Let's really get into this pretty wild combination of cryptocurrency and brain-computer interfaces, BCIs.
Yeah, the convergence.
We'll sift through the material, figure out what it all means for us, for money, everything. Think of it as our look into a future that's, frankly, both incredibly exciting and maybe a little bit scary.
Definitely both.
Okay, so to really get our heads around this, we need the basics first. Brain-computer interfaces. We hear the term BCI. But how real are they? How close are they to being, part of our lives?
Well, it's fascinating how fast they're moving out of the lab. I mean, for ages, they were purely research tools, super complex, experimental.
Right, academic stuff.
Exactly. But now we're seeing this, frankly, unprecedented speed in translation to the real world. You hear about companies like Neuralink, right? They're mostly working on invasive BCIs.
Just in the brain.
Yeah, tiny implants. The idea is to get really high-quality signals, direct links, physical or wireless, between our thoughts or brain activity and machines. But it's important to remember there are non-invasive ones, too.
Like those caps with sensors.
Right, advanced EG caps and things like that. They're also getting much better, maybe not quite the same precision yet, but improving fast. The big leap now is going from just detecting, say, broad brain states to actually interpreting specific commands. Commands precise enough for something like, well, a financial transaction. These aren't just ideas anymore. They're devices being actively developed.
Okay, so controlling a cursor with your mind, maybe basic commands, I can sort of see that. But translating financial intent, something complex and needing high security into a crypto transaction on a blockchain, that feels like a huge jump. How plausible is that really?
That's a really good point, and it's where things get interesting, neurotechnologically speaking. The sources suggest it's not just about controlling a pointer, it's about integrating your actual intent with the crypto side.
Intent? How?
Through pattern recognition, basically. Advances in AI and machine learning mean systems could potentially identify the unique, consistent neural signature when you specifically think, I want to send X amount of Bitcoin to Y address.
A unique brain signal for that specific thought.
Kind of, yeah. And the mechanism described is, well, it's pretty profound. Your mind could literally generate and validate the private keys for your crypto wallet.
Whoa, hang on. Generate and validate. Does that mean, like, I have to consciously think about my private key? Like, memorizing that long string of words?
No, that's the fascinating part. It's not about recall, which is unreliable anyway. Think of it more like your brain, when you form that specific transactional intent, produces a unique, identifiable neural signature, almost like a brain print or a unique thought pattern.
Okay.
And that signature, that pattern, gets cryptographically processed, hashed to act as your private key. It proves it's you and you mean it. So your brain isn't storing the key like data on a drive. Your brain activity is the authenticator.
So the thought itself triggers the secure process.
Exactly. Which means transactions could become purely thought-driven. Instantaneous, direct, no need for banks, payment apps, cards, none of the usual intermediaries.
Think and send.
Pretty much. A thought, a neural signal, and the transaction gets recorded on that global decentralized ledger, the blockchain, that public record, no single entity control.
Okay, the how is starting to make a bit more sense, even if it's mind-bending.
Yeah.
But that brings us to the why. Why would we want this level of integration? The sources you pointed to suggest some pretty compelling, almost revolutionary uses, some really big upsides, right?
Oh, absolutely. The potential benefits could be genuinely transformative. They touch on security, freedom, efficiency. Think about a really difficult but important example. Refugees. People forced to flee, often crossing borders with literally nothing. Carrying wealth safely is a huge problem. cash gets stolen or confiscated, bank accounts might be frozen or just inaccessible.
They're left with nothing.
Right. But it becomes incredibly difficult. Yeah.
Right.
It offers this unparalleled security against seizure, against control by governments or others, their financial independence, their ability to maybe restart somewhere else. It literally travels with them, secured in a way physical assets just can't be.
That's actually a powerful idea for autonomy, especially for people in really vulnerable situations. Wealth tied to identity, not location or paper. And it's not just personal safety, is it? The sources mentioned AI agents, too.
Yes, that's another fascinating angle. Think bigger picture. This kind of merger could make interacting with AI incredibly smooth. Imagine an AI managing your investments, maybe, or even just your smart home's energy use, buying cheaper power on the fly.
How did that work?
Well, maybe you just form the intent, maximize my returns this quarter, or prioritize green energy. The AI, linked via the BCI, could instantly trigger tiny crypto transactions for energy or rebalance your portfolio, all without you needing to say anything or tap anything.
Like telepathic instructions to your AI money manager?
Kind of, yeah. It removes all the friction, the clicks, the logins, the confirmations. It could lead to this incredibly intuitive digital life that makes even today's smart assistants feel, well, pretty clunky.
It really does make you stop and think. The implications for just personal freedom, security, moving around the world, a future where your money isn't tied to a bank branch, but to your consciousness. This idea of invisible wealth. Okay, so that's the bright side. This incredible potential for freedom, efficiency, maybe even empowerment.
Right.
But, well, with any tech this fundamental, this close to our core, there's always a flip side, isn't there?
Always.
And the sources definitely don't shy away from that. There are some, let's just say, profoundly unsettling questions and risks here, too. It demands a really close look.
Definitely. And this is where it gets really challenging. The source material really zeroes in on how this changes the whole idea of hacking. If your brain is your wallet, then hackers aren't trying to guess your password anymore. That's just, characters you pick. They'd be trying to crack your thoughts, your actual neural patterns.
Crack your thoughts.
Which immediately brings up this need for, well, the sources talk about mental firewalls.
A mental firewall. Okay, that sounds completely sci-fi. What did that practically mean? Another BCI watching the first BCI? Or like actively thinking defensive thoughts? Neural encryption.
It's a huge question, and frankly, we're way beyond traditional cybersecurity here. The sources hint at things like maybe AI constantly monitoring your neural activity for weird patterns, anomalies suggesting someone's trying to get in or influence you.
An AI bodyguard in your head?
Sort of. Or maybe needing like a complex sequence of specific thoughts as a kind of mental multi-factor authentication just to approve a payment. It's not just about protecting data. It's protecting the integrity of your thinking when it equals money. It fundamentally changes what security even means. Your mind becomes the ultimate vulnerability.
The thought of a hacker literally in your head is, chilling. But practically, how would that even work? Are we talking mind control or just reading the signals? And it's not just criminals, is it? What about governments? If they could subpoena bank records now?
Right. What happens when the bank is your brain? The sources suggest both kinds of threats. A thought hack could mean extracting those key neural patterns, basically reading your financial mind without permission.
Stealing the thought key.
Yes, but potentially also subtle manipulation. Could someone induce you to make a transaction? That's where it gets terrifyingly personal. And you've hit the nail on the head with government access. It raises this huge question. If the government can demand access to your neural wallet for taxes, say, what stops them demanding access to other thoughts? Maybe to assess intent or predict behavior.
Oh, wow. Mission creeps straight into the skull.
Exactly. The expansion of state authority into our most private space, our consciousness, becomes a very real possibility. The line between cognitive liberty and state surveillance could get incredibly blurry, maybe even erased. And it goes way beyond just money.
And stepping back even from security and governments, there's a deeper, maybe more philosophical thing here too, right? Money's always been, well, important, obviously, but external. A tool. If you wire it directly into your consciousness, it's not external anymore. It becomes part of you, part of your inner world. Do we actually want our thoughts, our neural pathways, tangled up with our financial value? That level of intimate exposure? It feels fundamentally different.
It really does. It forces these huge questions about identity, about privacy. What is the self if our mental processes are directly linked to a global financial ledger.
Right.
What happens to private thought if those thoughts can be scanned, interpreted, maybe even forced for authentication? It's this massive tension, isn't it, between incredible innovation, maybe unparalleled convenience, and what could be the very last stronghold of our personal sovereignty, the privacy of our own minds.
Yeah, it's clear there's no easy answer. And futurists looking at this stuff, they're apparently all over the map, offering really different takes on what this BCI crypto merger actually means for us.
That's absolutely right. You've got one camp often, leaning towards transhumanist ideas who argue this integration could become totally natural, like breathing.
Just part of being human in the future.
Yeah, they see a future where dealing with decentralized finance, making payments, it's all just an effortless extension of your will. Seamless, intuitive. They see it as the ultimate step in human-computer interaction, freeing us up, making things super efficient, maybe even boosting our cognitive abilities by letting the interface handle the financial grunt work. For them, it's ultimately about empowering the individual.
Total intuitive control. Sounds efficient, definitely. But then there's the other side, the big warnings.
Exactly. You have other futurists, maybe coming from a more privacy advocacy angle, or even a bit tech skeptical, who are sounding major alarms. They warn that this exact merger, while convenient, could basically destroy privacy at the deepest level possible.
How so?
Well, if your thoughts are linked to a public or semi-public blockchain, if those unique neural patterns are your financial tools, does the concept of a truly private inner world even exist anymore?
That's a heavy thought.
It is. The potential for surveillance, manipulation, maybe even just subtle nudges directly into your consciousness, it could make real mental privacy a thing of the past. It's not just about what you have, it becomes about what you think. It's this fundamental clash between convenience and the sanctity of our inner selves. It really pushes the boundary of what it means to be a sovereign person.
And those two views really highlight the core dilemma, don't they? How do we define ourselves? How do we define our financial lives? And where is that line between us and the tech we weave into our lives? It's a future that's simultaneously fascinating and deeply unsettling. Where does the human end and the machine begin?
Wow. Okay, what a journey that was. We've covered some seriously exciting and honestly pretty unnerving territory today, looking at crypto meeting brain-computer interfaces.
It's a lot to take in. It really is.
Yeah.
We saw the revolutionary side, refugees carrying wealth in their minds, maybe AI interactions that feel like telepathy. But we also stared right at the risks needing mental firewalls, the government potentially peering into our thoughts, and these fundamental questions about privacy and self.
Yeah, the downsides are just as significant as the upsides.
Definitely. The sources really drive home that saying, Bitcoin is in my head, might stop being a metaphor and become literal reality. And that's something we need to think about very, very carefully because it seems to be coming faster than we might expect.
So the final question, maybe, is this. If your thoughts can be your currency, if your brain activity holds the keys, what does that actually do to the idea of personal privacy, of cognitive liberty, and maybe more personally for you listening, what parts of your own identity, your own inner world, would you be willing to merge with technology for convenience, for security? Where do you draw that line?
That is definitely the question to chew on long after this deep dive. A huge thank you for joining us on this exploration into a truly mind-bending potential future. Keep asking questions, keep exploring, and we'll catch you next time on The Deep Dive.